Olivia, how are you feeling today?
Um, being the end of the day, a bit tired, but okay.
Off
It's after
camera,
the weekend.
that's true. That's true. Off camera, you were telling me that Mondays usually are not as hectic, but
No.
today is a little bit hectic, right, more than usual, I would say.
Yes, and I have a very good reason for it. It was the traffic. For some reason, it was chock-a-block everywhere today. I didn't think, as in later in the day I encountered a crash, but for the rest. So you start with one late meeting because of traffic, and then it's a domino
For sure,
effect.
for sure. When we were discussing Olivia before we started recording, we're also appreciating the fact that how much overlap we have in our
Yes.
in our work.
Yes.
And that's something that I appreciate because we were speaking a little bit before. Sometimes when you work in the profession that we do, you are bound by confidentiality and you are bound by professionalism as well. And there is a lot of absorption, but there is a lot
Yes.
of little of output, and that is how it should be. How do you take care of yourself,
Mm.
even from your therapeutic knowledge? How do you take care of yourself
Yes.
from that front?
First and foremost, it's hard, and I believe that it's always going to be hard. Um, so you can't always offload as much as you need. But yes, then there are things you put in place to be able to take care of yourself. How I do it is first and foremost training, as in working out. First thing in the morning, 4 times a week, roughly. On a good week, of course, again, life sometimes gets in the way, and I practice what I preach in this sense that consistency is much more important than getting it right every week. So working out, making time for connections where I can be myself. So friends that either have nothing to do with the world of work where I belong to, or even if they are into it, because sometimes I make friends. I have friends that I've made in past workplaces, in other workplaces that I still carry today, and we've become really good friends. But the kind of friends where if I just sit there and don't talk, it's fine. Where I can just be myself. I don't need to wear any professional hat. If I have to swear, I can swear. Of course, sharing is always, I don't know you, but when others are talking about their day, I can't really talk freely about
Yes.
my day anywhere, not even if I had to be in the presence of other HR professionals or therapists.
Yeah.
So we always have to keep in mind not mentioning any names. So that's why I said it will stay hard, because you still can never go and say this person pissed me off, or that person had a very hard session today.
Yeah.
These are things that you can never say, except in my case, at least in supervision, where it's the space for it. But that's you can't do supervision every day, as in you can, but
Yes, yes.
but
You'll be
it's
how was the word escaping me? You'll be it's escaping me the word. You'll be balanced from a profit and
exactly,
concept.
exactly.
What's
You won't
what's
as
what's
there
the
won't be
word?
any profit,
Yes,
as
yes,
in
breaking
exactly
even.
break even. You just break
That's the
even
word.
if you supervision every day. But yes, so it's working out when I can. I love cooking, but I don't always have the time to enjoy it, because cooking, at least for a family, we both cook, me and my husband. But when you have to cook as a chore, sort of, and there's a time limit, at least personally, I don't always find it enjoyable in that sense. But yes, like a Saturday when I just have no time limit and I can come up with recipes I enjoy cooking. Lately, I started. I'm not a creative person,
Okay.
which is something that bothers me, because a creative outlet helps a lot with
Definitely.
stress. I never found mine until recently. I started pottery.
Okay.
I'm still challenged in at least the tutor, or what we call him. I'm still doing utilitarian things. Like I just finished 2 boats for the kids
Okay.
that they commissioned. I got commissions.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
One, my daughter asked me for a bowl, and then my son said, and me, so they kept me occupied. But the tutor keeps telling me, stop doing utilitarian things. You need to sort of let go in the process and see whatever comes out. And that I still find hard to, since my hypothesis is that since I work a lot, both in HR and in therapy, with not finding solutions, because in therapy it's
Not finding
absolutely not the
solution.
case. But I'm a point of reference. And at least in the HR world, if a CEO is asking questions related to my field, I'm supposed to know. And letting go of that when you're in a creative space, like you have a piece of clay and you're just fiddling with it and seeing where it takes you. It's something that is, it's for me, it's hard. I don't know, I just can't let go and say, whatever comes out. I tend to go process, and then what is the most favorable outcome we're going for, and then how would troubleshoot. So
How is that? What's the connection with that in therapy? Because in therapy, in most cases, because that's something that I struggle with personally. That's why I didn't pursue therapy as a
okay.
profession, to sit there with the client in the here and now, in the sense, not necessarily from a Gestalt point of
Yes,
view, but
yes,
in the here and how is that, how does that come in the way, sort of?
I'm not, I don't know, in the sense, since you mentioned Gestalt, I'm trained in systemic therapy.
Yes.
And the systemic therapy work a lot on how whatever the client is bringing into the therapy, into this session, how it links within their system. So if someone is coming in presenting with anxiety and wanting to work on anxiety, my role would be to help myself and the client understand where within the system anxiety is being either made worse, made better, and so forth. So I'm not a Gestalt therapist. I don't know how a Gestalt therapist would handle that. In my role as systemic therapist, I can afford insights. In the sense, I'm noticing that when you mention this relationship and going, I don't know, out to a restaurant with this person, you're mentioning that your anxiety heightens. And then we see what the client says. But yes, you're still sitting there and you still have to go with the pace of the client. So even if I can start joining the dots and seeing that the client potentially will get to destination A,
Yes.
of course I can't tell the client, we need to go to destination A. That's what I figured out.
Yes.
You need to slowly probe and ask and give insights until the client gets there. So
Gets there.
I don't know how maybe I have the patience to do it. I really enjoy it in therapy. But then with a creative outlet, I get frustrated to just let it be. I don't know.
The purpose is different.
Aha.
The purpose is the process rather than the
Exactly. Aha.
because I'm picturing, first of all, just to go back a little bit, I appreciated your angle because what I wanted to arrive to with my question is that we differentiate the types of therapies that there are, because it's not one.
No, there
one.
are
There are various,
very
and it depends what you require and
Yes,
need at that
yes.
point in time. So that's why I asked the question.
Yes.
But if going back to the statement, the way I see it as well, if it was me who was doing this creative process, I would need a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Unless I have that.
I think that's mine actually. Like, okay, where am I getting to? Is this going to be, I don't know, a candle holder? I need to know what I'm getting to.
Yep.
And in the class, there are different people coming. So there's a guy who's a friend of ours, who's an engineer. And I'm always fascinated seeing him work in therapy, in pottery, because he starts with an idea, very vague idea. He'll have a concept in mind, but then he can let the piece guide him. And I start getting frustrated if it's not coming the way I pictured it or as good as I pictured it. So I keep going back because I think it's a growth area for me.
How long have you been doing pottery?
6 months, I think
6 months.
now.
All right. Okay.
6 months, yes.
What was the reason for you to
My
start?
husband and I went for our 8th anniversary. We're soon, in a couple of weeks, it will be our 10th. We did some things each, and then we left them there. And the guy kept chasing, he's a friend of ours, the artist. He kept chasing us for when are we going back to glaze them to finally take them home.
Okay.
A year later, so close to our 9th anniversary, went to pick them up. And he told us that some people, we saw a lot of pieces running around, which clearly were not his, because of course he exhibits and he does a lot of his work. And we said, like, what are these? And he said, I'm running workshops, like. And my husband told me, shall we try one? I said, let's not leave a year in between. And yes, let's try them. And that's how it started. So I go with my husband, my son joins, my daughter sometimes. So sometimes it's a family thing. And it's also nice to do something together. So besides the pottery itself.
Yes,
and most times I'll be so tired, to be honest. I'll say, like, my husband, like, we have to go. Like, no, I'm too tired to go. And then I'll push myself, and to be honest, 2 hours later, because the lesson is 2 hours, I come out like with my brain finally breathing, if that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I resist not going because I'm tired, the more I need it.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is something we don't
Very
realize.
similar to training, I would say, because you have to
Yes.
drive yourself to work out
At
and
5:30
something.
in the morning.
Oh,
In
I
my
wouldn't be able to
case.
do it. We've encountered each other at one point in time. It was
Yes, you were having a physio session.
yes, it's because I had no other choice.
And you can see that the class I go to, we're all morning people.
Yes,
because everyone-
and I was the odd one out at the point in time.
We're all chatting and
You still need to drive yourself
yes,
to do it, but when you work out, when you do it, soon after, most cases, you feel relieved,
Mhm.
you feel at peace, you feel serene, you feel glad that you've been
Uh-huh.
through it. You feel tired.
And I feel, but I feel like I'm in a frame of mind where I'm more capable of taking decisions, more
Yeah.
capable of being objective, less panicky in the sense if I have a tough day coming up, I start already panicking. Oh, how will I make it to meeting number 3 or this or that? After a workout, it's like I can manage myself much better. So to be honest, with experience, whereas years ago I would have not gone to training because I have tough day coming up.
Mhm.
Now it's the opposite. The tougher the day I have coming up, the more I make sure to go to training because even time wise, if I go to training, I know that my day will start at 7, I'll be back home. Then I'm already, of course, awake. It's time to hit the shower. Whereas if I stay home because I have a tough day, probably I'll hit the snooze button more times than I should.
Mhm.
I'll get into the shower later and I'll start my day already with that grumpy feeling of I'm starting out and I'm already playing catch up with time. So, sticking to training, the less I feel like it, sort of,
The more you need.
the more I need it. But also, what I learned along the years is knowing when to also rest because I used to train. I've always loved training since I was a child. But I could, now I know better sort of, but and also my joints don't allow me, I'm getting old. But I used to push. Like if I stuck it into my head, I'm training 5 times a week, I'll probably try and squeeze in a 6. No way I'm training 4. Now with time, I started also understanding when it's wiser to take a lie-in and sleep a bit more because I really need it versus always training comes first. So sometimes I'll not strain and maybe not sleep much more, but have a quieter morning, make breakfast. Or for as weird as it sounds, if the laundry is there waiting to be put away, sometimes I say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to training because I'm very tired. I'll wake like half an hour later and then sort the laundry. And sorting the laundry is sort of meditative because you don't really need to engage your brain. And after I finish it, I would have still done something, not just being lazy. I don't know if it makes sense, but at least if physically I need a break, doing something like that helps me.
It's something that it's the fact that you get things done. I think it gives you the confidence or the momentum necessary to keep on doing things. This feels like you started something and you completed it.
Yes, the
I think,
dopamine.
yes,
exactly,
I think it has that effect. What I was thinking, while you were sharing, Olivia, is that because I'm in this situation as well. Our line of work puts us a lot with in a social context. We meet with a lot of people.
Yes.
We take on a lot of things. Do you get socially tired?
Yes, I used to be, when I was younger, everyone knows me as the heart of the party. And now, in fact, I was abroad with a friend. It was a girls' weekend, just 2 of us, to take a break. And I became so boring at a point. She's like, you're not drinking. You're not drinking enough, or like something like that. I'm so boring. I looked at my water bottle. I told her, yes, it's true. I'm not. She told me, alcohol, I'm telling you. Because I became so socially, I get so exhausted, especially Friday evenings. I don't know how you are. After a whole week,
Yep.
Fridays, I really find it difficult to socialize, to be in spaces where there's a lot of people.
For me, it's the Sunday. Friday, I feel the effects, but Sunday, it's I need to recharge.
Yes,
From,
but I've realized I've reduced my circle very much, as I told you earlier. So my circle are people that I can just be myself with. I'm very selective, and not because I think I'm better than other people or anything, because I don't have the bandwidth. And especially from the therapy side, people who didn't know you well, as soon as you mentioned you're a therapist, they usually start asking you questions which have to engage your professional brain. And like a Saturday at 10 in the evening holding a drink, it's not something that you want to be doing.
It's the expectation, isn't it? At least for me, when I mention my profession, is that the mood shifts.
Yes, I notice
the mood shifts completely.
1 minute where it's like, and then the next everyone is like goes deep and serious.
So my from my side is that my default is to listen first in most cases. So I would listen, and then the person asks me, okay, so what do you do? And I'm a psychologist. But, okay. Then the mood shifts, and the person starts sharing, and then,
or else, I don't know if it ever happened to you. They go serious, and they're like, "So you're analyzing me?"
I get that as well.
What are you thinking of me? And I'm like, really?
Please give me a report of.
I don't want to think anything. I can hardly think about my own life at the moment. So sometimes there's the misconception that we enjoy analyzing people.
Yes.
Because
it can happen naturally.
It can happen. Yes, I mean, if you see a situation unfolding in front of you, your trained brain cannot not think.
Yes.
What it thinks. But I wouldn't be outrightly analyzing someone. Then he said this only to me. Also, this must mean I wouldn't be doing it intentionally.
Yes,
I think you know what I mean.
Yes. And I'm asking these questions, and we're having this conversation at least to humanize the profession as well, because sometimes people see us as the professional, and we have to wear that hat, and that hat comes with a lot of responsibility, but we're also human as well.
Yes, in therapy, it happens a lot with clients. I am a fan of, when done well, self-disclosure.
Okay.
Because it's happened to me several times in sessions that a client would be assuming that whatever they're talking about, especially if it's relationships, I start noticing from their language that they are assuming that I have it all figured out, that I most probably don't deal with what they're dealing.
Yes.
And it happened to me recently. I had a couple in therapy, and we're working on their communication skills. They both, as most couples do, come from different backgrounds. So it is the reconciling of my narrative with his narrative in my case. So and this couple was, and they told us, we must drive you crazy, eh? I told them first and foremost, no, because I know this from also a person perspective. And then this was the end of the session, so they were getting up, sorting the next appointment, so it was a bit of a lightened moment. And then I don't know, so I think they asked me like, give us some hope, because they're younger. The relationship is about 18 months long.
Okay.
So they assume they have some pearls of wisdom to share. Okay. And I told them, I don't want to discourage you, but the bickering, if you think it's going anywhere, if anything, when you're in a mood, it will get worse. I told them, but with therapy, at least my experiences with being a client in therapy, is that you learn how to catch it, you learn how to cope, you learn when it matters to choose different words. But I like self-disclosure because I've seen clients really progressing once they remove me from the pedestal that they assumed, as a therapist, she must not have these problems. As a therapist, she must be champion on boundaries.
Yes.
Maybe, yes, I know now how to put boundaries better than I knew before, but I still get stuck. Some people still make it challenging for me to put boundaries. And I find it very important because I don't like to take the expert position. Certain professions do. I don't like it, not because I don't feel competent enough in doing my job, but I feel that once we are speaking as human to human, yes, I have a role to carry out. It's very important. So if you come to me and you're paying me, you're coming for a reason. I can't be your friend and I can just chit-chat.
Yes.
But also when we both understand that the human experience sometimes is very similar. I think the clients, at least if I have to put myself back into being in the client chair, not knowing what the therapist is thinking, whether they're judging me. Once I can see them human and faulted as much as I am, but maybe in different ways, and I don't need to know what my therapist's full background is. it sort of calms you down and makes the client more open
Yes, yes.
to being vulnerable.
I think it opens the door for more vulnerability,
Yes.
because the first. So I'll give an example. So I'm pretty sure you've encountered it as well. When you're delivering a workshop, if you're delivering the workshop for the first time with the client or audience,
Yes.
usually do a quick round of names to say who is who and what they do, how long they've been in the company, some personal fun facts about them, and the way we do it is that we go first,
Exactly.
because and then there's usually some photos of us in the presentations
Yes.
that show a little bit who we are outside of our profession as well. And some relate to something, some relate to the other thing.
Yes, exactly.
And it opens up, it facilitates a lot the conversation. Whereas initially, when I started doing it, I saw myself as the person delivering the service, which is true, but I found resistance in people speaking up because they didn't know who I was first. So I quickly learned that I need to disclose first,
Yes.
so that I invite a more vulnerable. And it happened around this table as well. Sometimes I have guests that I
Yes.
need to share a bit about myself more during the episode, so that the other person feels comfortable enough to share
Yes,
and
that's
have a
why
conversation.
Yes, of course, self-disclosure in therapy always
Must.
has to benefit the client.
Definitely.
So it's not for you to get something off your chest,
Yes,
of
yes.
course. But yes, when used properly, I think self-disclosure is a very important strategy and tool, because it humanizes everyone. And as a client, if you have an expert in front of you, it's
Intimidating as well.
intimidating. Exactly, it's like what progress can I aim for?
Yeah.
This faulted human, and I have that expert in front of me.
Yes.
Whereas when I've shared intentionally to show a client that, listen, I got from here to here. I have seen, I'm telling you, clients telling me, really, I would have never imagined that about you. And from then on, I could see steady progress session to session, purely from a two-sentence disclosure, that suddenly you can see that their picture of me has suddenly changed. Because a warrant can feel,
It does feel.
I don't know,
It does feel that you're carrying something. It does feel like a sense of responsibility to me.
which is, yes, and exactly, and that's very important.
Yes. So it does make me question from time to time. Is this a, so I need to be conscious and
Yes.
intentional about
Yes.
what I'm doing and saying,
Yes.
because you have a certain sense of
And that's where,
responsibility.
in my case, at least supervision,
It is
I
important.
use it as much as
As a
needed,
tool.
because it really helps to keep you in check professionally, ethically, and everything.
Because as we were saying, we are humans still, so
Yes.
it does spill out from time to time. So
Yes.
it's
Yes, especially if you're going through something personally and you still have to act professional.
definitely.
There's more need for it. So I honestly believe in the power and the need of supervision to continue serving ethically, because at the end of the day, I see it very much as a service
Yes.
profession.
Yes. How does this support you in your HR role? Because I know very few people who do both.
Both, yes.
And even though I appreciate the parallelism of it, it requires different tact.
Yes,
to
it
it.
requires, yes. So first, when I finished my psychotherapy studies, I thought that I'm going to leave HR behind, because now I want to be fully focused on therapy. But I was very wrong, because as I was winding down, I was realizing that I'm missing the word of work, so to say. And initially, even I looked at them as separate professions. But as soon as I started practicing both in parallel, you start realizing how much one is helping the other. So the truth is, having a balance of both really helps me to do both roles better. The more I am in the world of work, the more I can understand the human on the couch, because at some point work will come up usually. Many people are career driven nowadays, and even if someone is not career driven, of course, people need to make a living. So on whichever level, work is part of life, and sometimes it will get in the way of relationships and so forth. And then on the other hand, with HR, consultancy, advisory, or even training, when I work especially at C level, many times where they get stuck is what to do with a human situation that, for example, the handbook doesn't cater for.
Mm.
How do we do a strategy while keeping people feeling taken care of with regards to HR? And I think drawing a lot then from the human to human side of psychotherapy, it somehow all translates well into my head, into one full system, because systemic therapy essentially is you're working with systems. It's commonly known as family therapy, which
Yes.
for most of us as systemic therapists really bothers us because it gives this the wrong idea. Firstly, families nowadays are very different in their composition
Yeah.
and the way people come together as a family. And secondly, we all make part of a system. Now, a system could be your immediate family, although we don't do therapy at work, but when you are at work, you're part of the work system.
Yeah.
And in therapy, that sometimes comes up. So if I have someone who's struggling with anxiety, as I told you before, to say with the same example, it could be that through the sessions we're realizing that the anxiety symptoms seem to be mostly prominent when the person is at work. So then we need to understand within the work system what is going on, the culture, so on and so forth. And knowing so much about HR and workplaces helps me a lot then to sort of help the clients deconstruct that in therapy. And likewise, the other way around. Sometimes when I'm advising a client, maybe on a tough disciplinary case, I do draw from what I know about people in therapy. But then yes, you need to completely dissect the two, because my remit as an HR consultant or advisor is one, and I'm bound by employment law, I'm bound by the culture of the company, what their vision is, versus in therapy, of course, the client leads the pace and how fast or not the progress happens. So they're distinct, but also there are a lot of parallels. And I find that the more I do both, the more I understand about the other side.
The other side.
Yes.
I think this might sound a little bit controversial. I think HR can be a misunderstood profession because it's a relatively easy profession to get into.
Yes.
And I'm saying relatively easy with a lot of responsibility, because something that I've heard in the past is that if you're good with people or you like enjoy people, you're good in HR. And that's not
so long ago, I put up a post specifically on this one.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I used exactly what you just said, that usually the gauge is you're good with people, you should be in HR.
Yes, yes. And the more you grow up in HR, the more you realize that it's all about the people, but it's all about the business as well. And knowing the
Yes.
difference is the wisdom that you gain along the years, and the responsibility to be the bridge between both
Yes.
worlds. And that's something that requires not only experience, but the growth and the mindset necessary to say, listen, this is protecting the business, but it's also good for the people. But in the grand scheme of things, it's good for the people. It's not good for Daniel as an individual and as an employee, but it's good for the ecosystem at the place of work. So I think HR, I think it's a bit of a misunderstood, or I wouldn't go as far as say underappreciated, because I think it is appreciated.
I think it's changed. It used to be when I started in HR, it used to be seen just as the personnel department. But no, I think the appreciation towards HR has grown, as you're saying.
Yes, and I think we're having this conversation before we started. I think HR needs to be at the executive seat.
Totally.
Because
but not every company sees it.
Yes, and I think HR is the bridge.
You're speaking to the converted in
Yes,
the
for sure.
Firstly, to go back to your point about maturing in HR, I see a difference between HR professionals that have grown also their commercial mindset.
Yeah.
And those who stay loyal to the people.
Yes.
Because as you said, you need to differentiate what's good just for Daniel versus what's good collectively. Because if you favor the people too much, we're going to drive the business to the ground and then no one will have a job.
Yes.
On the other hand, of course, drawing too much on the commercial side, we don't see people as people anymore, and it's going, of course, to hit a wall in a very different way. And I think growing a bit, because of course when we enter the HR world, usually we're not coming from a commercial background. You don't see an accountant generally, of course, generally there might be, but an accountant's like organic trajectory is not to start a role in HR.
Yes.
So it's something that I find is acquired with time, most experiences. But then it's very important to understand the commercial side, because that's where probably the seat at the table will be made for HR, when the business understands that our HR doesn't only want us to give more to the people and that's it.
Yeah.
When they're understanding our challenges, trying to meet us halfway, trying to make it make sense also for the business commercially, because like the way I like to see it is that our duty of care extends beyond giving a bonus and making Daniel happy for the sake of making Daniel happy. Our duty of care is wider in perspective, because our duty of care extends to keeping the business healthy and supporting the business commercially to stay sound and thriving. That's how then you can care for the people by offering not only the jobs, but the training opportunities and going more along the cycle of HR, where we're doing it in full.
And that's why I see, that's something that I've shared a number of times. This might sound a little bit pessimistic as well. I see HR as a very lonely role, because you're there for everyone, but no one is there for you from a human point of view, because either you're having a conversation with the CEO or partner or director, but if you're the top person in that organization, no one is speaking on your behalf, let's say, which makes things somewhat lonely as well. I think, and I'm saying this because you need to be able to carry that with you and make sense of it as well, which can internally create a bit of a struggle, because you're also an employee, and from a systemic point of view, you're also a child from
exactly like the management is the parental system, if you will, if we're drawing parallels, and you're here, but you're also part of there. It's a very ambiguous position to be, because usually, I don't know, if you have an accounts officer, they're an accounts officer. The head of accounts is the head of finance or head of accounts, and that's it. They don't have to take care of the rest of the people. So even if you are going to the CEO to discuss possible salary increases and whatever, your name is there as well. So distinguishing between, listen, this is needed as a strategic move and whatever, whilst your name is there on the paper, and you're also sort of fighting for your own. It can get very uncomfortable.
I've been in that position.
Even I, that's why, and I'm thinking of the specific occasion right now as we're talking. So it can, and I still remember making the remark that, listen, if you want, we can discuss me separately. So focus on the big picture, because although my name is there, because of course I extracted the data from the system, and I am an employee, so my name shows up.
Especially when you're working on a salary structure.
You cannot leave the HR out, especially with the head of HR, or you cannot leave that out, because all the salaries have to make sense.
That's when if you're wearing the consultant hats, it becomes easier. But then you're the employee, so you have to juggle between these two roles.
Being a consultant, I must admit, in that sense, in getting caught in these dual roles, of course it's easier, because I have one role with the company, and also from the CEO, managing director, or whoever it is that I'm dealing with, they know that I have the objective benefit of the company at heart, and that's my North Star, and that's it. My own, if we're discussing, I don't know, performance management, we're discussing bonuses or whatever I'm proposing, I'm not going to benefit from it. So I find that helps, of course, as a position, because it's not ambiguous anymore.
It does. It is important that we. I think that is where supervision comes in, but a typical HR person wouldn't have supervision have supervision because of our psychological background and profession. But I've been in situations, multiple situations, and multiple times that I've escalated something to my supervisor. I have two, by the way. So sometimes I provide the same scenario,
and you'd get different.
I'd get different views, but it enriches my way forward with my supervisors. They both have different backgrounds, and so they have different perspectives, and that helps me make a better and more informed decision. But I did escalate certain things, HR related things to my supervisors, and how I would act as an organizational psychologist or from that angle, and I found that very, very beneficial.
In HR, I use more peer supervision more than anything. There are a few other colleagues that do the same work.
But you see it from a process point of view. At that point in time, it sort of like becomes a process.
In what sense?
Let's say you have a grievance or discipline. So you have a disciplinary situation, you discuss it, at least from my experience, you discuss it from a process point of view, rather than how that make you feel, what's your position that you're taking.
Most of the time, yes, but sometimes I do with this particular person I have in mind. No, sometimes I get caught in like
in a dilemma.
Dilemma.
Okay.
And I'm like, listen, we have an hour for me, and we'll discuss it. I trust this person a lot, so and the person is qualified as well. Processes, yes, most of the time it's processes. And then listen, does this framework make sense? Because when you've been diving into something, into the detail, then it becomes a blur. So you need an objective pair of eyes to say, listen, no, it's complicated, or yes, or tweak here, or tweak there. That's needed. Especially, I don't know, in my case, being alone. So I'm self-employed.
Yes.
So not having a team, that is something I miss in the sense, a team. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. But yes, the team component, as we were saying before we started recording, something has to give.
Yes.
And I made the decision of going self-employed. But yes, a team element where somebody else has your back, where you don't take decisions alone. There's a sounding board there ready for you. Yes. So I created my own ecosystem sort of with that. With maybe different networks I belong to, and different professionals who, especially on a core value level, we really align. So I feel comfortable and supported in asking for their advice in this sense, which becomes peer supervision essentially.
When would the two professions get in the way?
The two professions get in the way. I've had a few instances, like I had and I took it to supervision actually. I had an HR client who I met several employees of this client, so I'm their HR advisor and fractional leader. And one of the employees were actually out for a farewell drinks, so nothing. And then this person contacted me, and she told me, like, I'd like to speak to you. I said, no problem, you have access to my calendar, just fix a meeting. That no, ideally not work, as in because this is not work related. And at first I was okay, what is it? But then yes, when he called me, I told him, no problem, call me like at a convenient time, blah blah blah. And he wanted therapy. I'm like, okay, what happens? Because in our role, as you know, there weren't redundancies or anything mentioned by the company, but in my head, I need to troubleshoot anything that can come in the way where I would have a dual role with the client. And in therapy, we try to avoid. That's why you cannot be friends with clients, because I should not have information about the client that the client didn't share within the setting of a session. And I was very honest with him. I told him, give me some time, I need to check with my supervisor, explain a bit the dynamic that I support your employer in HR. So essentially you are an employee at a company that I support, but you'll be also my client in therapy. So if something happens within the organization that I know of at management level, I don't know if the client, for example, in therapy, the scenarios that were going through my head, if the client comes in therapy discussing financial difficulties, and I would know that the company is not doing well and might.
Yes.
Like, how do I negotiate the two? in my head. And yes, I took it to supervision. My supervisor, I like her because she both has a clinical psychology background and a psychotherapy background. And she's quite commercially minded as well. So it's not like a diehard yes or no, or this is. So we talk, we really expand on the context. And in that case, she had said, depending on the client, and if he's able also to negotiate the boundaries himself, then she said, I don't see any issues in working with this client. And I had to think, because as you're saying, not just because the supervisor gives you the go ahead. So that was one scenario when they sort of not clash, but maybe intersect a bit, and you need to stop and think, because the way we work, would this be beneficial for the client? And I made it very clear to him, listen, I would love to work with you, so it's not that I don't want to, but if we work together, the relationship at least has to start in a way that is beneficial for you. We can't already start with the wrong foot where we're not on steady ground.
Yes.
Yes, and it's something that that worked. So
the roles are not easy to navigate.
No, there are, honestly, I've had sleepless nights about other situations like this. They can be very tricky to navigate. And that's, as we were discussing before the podcast, that's where I think a high level of integrity and ethics come in. And still, sometimes you make mistakes. So I'm not saying that I've always been perfect about this or anything. But
well, I think on this front is that sometimes you take a decision if it results to be a mistake, not because of lack of integrity. Sometimes you would like to help this person. You might be coming from a very good place, because you won't like to work this person, and you're appreciative of the fact that the person might like your style, and you know how difficult it is to find someone, a therapist or a counselor or a professional that you connect with. You know how hard that is, and then it feels bad to say, listen, I can't because of the due role.
Exactly.
So the due role becomes sort of like a limitation of sorts that puts us uncomfortable, because in other contexts you would have a...
Yes, but there were times when I said no. So in this case that I discussed, it was something that was healthy for this person to benefit from, but there were situations where I had to refer and I had to stop and say no, because it wouldn't have been in the best interest of the client. And it's hard, and I always feel it, as you're saying, it's like I'm refusing care sort of towards someone that I might come across as I don't care, whereas the decision will be very heavy to take. That's why I told you, I've had sometimes sleepless nights wondering, how will this person take it? What is the best way to communicate it? Should I, because different people respond to different methods, should I call the person in and say it face to face, phone call? I don't know. It's because essentially it's a rejection.
Yes, it is. It is in some way.
It's a rejection.
Even though you might explain it, but obviously the person might not understand. Still, the answer is no. Yes.
And so what makes it more difficult sometimes is having someone who maybe would have really found it hard to seek help. And finally they plugged up the courage to reach out to someone, and then you have to say no because of the situation. And it's I never find it easy.
Yes.
It's very hard to do, as you're saying, because you really want to help, but your mandate to help is to help the client. So if you know that being in that dynamic, being in that...
You're seeing something that the client isn't.
Exactly.
And it's like one of the things in handling difficult conversations. Sometimes you'd be seeing something that the other person isn't, but you have to explain it as clearly as possible to get the message across, even though the message might not be well received as well. But certain things then would fall under then.
And that to take you back to being in HR, because we're good with people, which sort of sometimes the same with therapy. They say, oh, you're good at talking.
Yes.
That is where it's really not true, because sometimes the decisions you have to communicate, the messages you have to give are really, really hard. And unless you are not happy, but fine to be disliked, and fine, you can live with yourself knowing you've upset someone for their own good and their own benefit. But at the end of the day,
I mean, it can be an interview. You would have rejected someone that
Exactly.
one was not
Exactly.
shortlisted.
Yes.
It's still a rejection in that front, and you still have to
Yes.
say, listen, thank you for your application. But even though you say
Exactly.
it by email, sometimes it's through
But
over the phone.
sometimes if it's internal,
Yes, yes, yes,
you
yes.
have, at least my
Yes.
experience is that if it's internal, we meet with the person to give
Yes, yes. Feedback.
feedback, constructive.
Yes.
That's the word I was looking for. In my the way I try to do it when it's internal is to meet with the person to give them constructive feedback so they understand maybe next call, next internal call, how they can get there.
Yes.
So you're sitting there and you're telling them you probably, if it was an internal call, that their teammate was selected, as in I'm not telling them they're in them, but they know that
Yes,
someone
yes.
else from the team has been selected, and you're there delivering the message and
You have
trying
to deal with the dynamic then as well, because then the team members
Exactly.
progresses, the other
Promoted,
done.
exactly.
So it's
So being fine with being disliked,
mhm.
sometimes unfairly in the sense because you are delivering the message.
Yes.
You're delivering a message, and you're there sitting or standing in front of the person, um, and rightly so, the person is seeing you there.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
if it's me, the person is seeing me there. So at that moment, I'm embodying the company, and if they're angry at the company, if they're upset or disappointed about whatever we're communicating, I'm the face of the company in the
Yes,
moment. So
yes.
you're taking that and then going home and being asked, how was your
That's it.
day?
Well,
And
brilliant.
yeah, exactly. I made it's hard, and probably sometimes the way we speak about lawyers, probably sometimes we're spoken about like that. Oh, HR don't care. They just I can't speak for everyone,
Yes,
but
yes.
I know a bunch of HR
I
that
mean, the
care a
how
lot.
to, yes. I
That
mean,
care a lot, and this part is very hard to live with.
yes,
Although the people can't see it because we have to stick to our professional
yes,
delivery of that message. You don't really have the situation if you're letting someone go, for example, and you're crying in the meeting. So although deep down you might have your own emotions and feeling as upset, very upset about it,
yeah, yeah,
you have to do things professionally because, at least the way I see it, I need to hold it together to support the person in the room. So at least I have to stay grounded, be able to walk them through the process, answer their questions, and at least, although they might be really not liking me in the moment, at least they can see that I am holding it together enough. I am a point of reference, and they can rely on trusting me to guide them.
yes,
Whereas if you fall apart, you're not really helping the situation.
yes. It's not about you. The moment
Exactly.
it's
It's not about you.
unfortunately, you'd have to carry that feeling. You need to show
Empathy,
sympathy
I
and
think.
empathy to the situation.
And many people, I think, especially if you're new to HR or line management, because in these meetings, sometimes have the line manager, they seem to think that it's either or. And
Either in what sense, either or.
empathy or being professional and keeping
No,
it
it
together.
can be both at the same
And I
time.
think it's very important that they're both at the same time.
Uh, Again, it requires some training, though. Some
Yes.
let's start some awareness first.
At least awareness.
Yes, because I think it's the first
Yes.
step towards um, being able to show emotion with regulation.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly. Yes,
it's not
and
easy.
I get where people who are not aware or not trained, why they keep it either very cold or go the other way, because
Yes.
they wouldn't
It's
have
safer.
learned how to do the containment and the regulated part of it, which, of course, you did a similar learning process. Is definitely not easy.
No.
So I wouldn't say I mastered it by all means, because there are situations which still take more from you than others.
Mhm.
But yes, I feel confident enough that if there's a situation that needs this, I can step in and support
Yes.
both clients in terms of the company and the employee. But still, we're human, so
I think it requires at least I do a lot of personal preparation before I have
yes.
certain situations. So when we are speaking about difficult conversations, I think one key element is how you prepare yourself if you're the one delivering the
Yes.
message, how you prepare yourself into delivering that
Yes.
message.
Yes.
Because sometimes you might agree with something personally speaking, but you have to disagree with it professionally speaking.
Mhm.
So you need to draw the line in between and being able to be okay with both because they might
Contradict
contrast
each
and
other.
contradict each other. So you need to mentally, the the simpler term to say it is mentally prepare yourself, but it's much
Yes.
deeper than that.
Yes, 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 for sure. And I don't know you, but no matter how many years I've been in HR, I always prepare myself. Sometimes when I'm delivering training, people seem to assume, especially like new, younger people who just joined the profession, they seem to think that I just walk in and it might look like that. But the truth is that I still run through a process in my head. If I have to deliver a hard message, the previous night is not really a restful one.
Yeah.
Because I'd be thinking, okay, tomorrow I have to do that. And I still strategize the conversation, as you're saying. Something that helps me as well is to remind myself about what my role is in the room. What is
Yeah.
my role in the room? Because if my role in the room is as the HR lead, if I'm doing a fractional role,
Yes.
then I get very clear of the parameters of that role.
Mhm.
And what level of empathy makes sense to show within that space
Mhm.
and what not. Because if it was someone in therapy, the range of empathy I can show is, of course, wider.
Yes, for
Within
sure.
the capacity of being an HR lead, delivering a hard message, whether it's letting go someone when it's not taking a promotion, I have to, for the benefit of the client,
Yes.
both company and both employee, stick to the role. I like to work through roles.
It makes things easier because it's visual.
Yes, exactly.
When we have a role, we have a job description to use an HR term,
exactly, and I
you
use it
follow
also in therapy.
and you follow the job
Yes,
description.
yes,
So I
yes.
think it's good to recognize who you need to be
In that
in
moment.
that position as well.
Yes, it happens with people who are in a relationship and have children, because once the children enter the dynamic, enter the
Yes.
system, the couple's relationship changes.
Yes.
So now you don't just have a partner, a husband, a wife.
Yes.
Now you
You're a
are
father, a mother.
co-parenting.
Yes.
And our views on parenting usually are not exactly the same. I still have yet to meet a couple that thinks exactly the same
Yes.
on how to raise the children.
Yes.
And sometimes separating the two is very, very hard.
And what you bring to the table as well.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
It's again to use a very I'm oversimplifying the situation here. Sometimes you have to be the good cop and the bad cop,
Yes.
and that's both valuable in the same situation. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you have to deliver a tough message, whereas the other person has to sugarcoat it or
Yes,
to
yes.
lessen the impact, so to
Exactly.
speak.
Uh-huh.
Both roles are important. It's not
Yes.
one is better than the other.
Exactly. As long as you work as a team, and this
Yes.
counts both for the workspace and the
For sure,
personal space.
for sure, for sure.
The more, because this is where the parallels are. Like in parenting, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to have a thriving child, not necessarily happy, but a child that is growing up with developing skill sets and
Yes,
whatever
values. Yeah.
values. I always like to say, in fact, I think I had done a blog post on that, that happiness should never be the goal. And I believe that both in personal and the professional
Yes,
field.
agreed.
Happiness is a byproduct, in my opinion.
Very subjective phenomenon.
And
It's a
very,
very,
exact.
very
If you ask
subjective.
me if I'm happy, like about what and
It's
to
an
what range, to what
subjective
degree
experience.
am I happy? Whereas if you're trying to lead a team with integrity to get them to meet a goal that we know everyone will feel fulfilled,
Yes.
that we've reached, then by reaching that goal, and the harder you work, the bigger the fulfillment, that will give you a sensation of feeling happiness.
Definitely.
But you're never chasing the being happy. It's
It's
happiness is very
unattainable as
elusive.
I wouldn't say unattainable, but it's very
Very
volatile.
momentary.
Yes.
Very volatile, very elusive.
Uh,
Like you're happy 1 minute and next you're not. And if you chase happy, in my opinion, it's a bit philosophical, I think, no. But if you're chasing happy, we go through so many range of emotions. Like, especially it happens when we lose someone, for example.
Yeah.
If you lose someone, and we've been through, all of us have lost someone at one point. No matter how sad you are or how close to you that person was, you will still enjoy a coffee, for example.
Yeah.
So it's a very that's why happiness is a very subjective term, because you are generally very, very sad and you're going through a very tough moment, grieving someone close to you, and yet you're out with this friend and
Yes,
they just
enjoying
made
the
you
moment.
laugh.
Yes.
And you, how can you? So it's I find it very.
It's not an overarching state of being. It's
That's exactly that
yes,
is overarching.
overlapping.
It's momentaneous. I can be
Yes,
happy
yes,
this
yes,
minute
yes.
because someone made me laugh, but still, generally speaking, I'm missing this person that
Yeah.
I lost, for example, or
Definitely.
someone lost their job, or someone is going through financial difficulties.
Mhm.
So although there's a situation quite predominant in their life that is changing their state,
Yes.
on the other hand, there are moments which, in my opinion, at least also how I take care of myself, to go back to your very first question, I really look at these lately. I think she was a guest here. Vanessa Kamenzuli
Yes,
has
she was.
introduced
Yes,
me
yes.
to this concept of glimmers.
Okay. She didn't share it here.
It's the opposite. She found it on Instagram.
Okay.
Which sometimes can help with
Yes,
learning
definitely.
things. It's the opposite of triggers, basically, as in not the opposite. It's not a research term or
Yes,
anything.
yes, yes.
But in the sense, like you can get, the concept is like you can get triggered with anything.
Definitely.
There are also glimmers that you can decide to look at. I don't know, sometimes I'm driving and I know it may look soppy and everything, but it really gives me, if you decide to focus on it. I'm driving home from the gym. As I said, I go early in the morning, especially when we're on winter time. I go in the dark, and when I'm driving back, sometimes the sun rises, I
rises.
see. And I'll be driving and suddenly like, wow. I could ignore it, and probably 7 on 10 I ignore it, but the 3 times it catches my
It's
attention.
a meaningful moment.
Yes, it's a glimmer. It's a
grounding.
moment where I choose to appreciate something that I could have taken for granted. And this, I think, is something that also ties to the happiness. So I could have just been thinking about something sad, but momentarily,
You
this gave me a
appreciate it.
sense of peace and happiness, and then you can go back to. So, the parallels between parenting, therapy,
And work.
are, because to me it's obvious, because we all of them have the human at the center of it.
Yes, yes. That's the common denominator and the reason why we do what we do, essentially.
Exactly.
So why we
Yes.
parent, why we work, right? Why we do therapy, essentially. So
Exactly.
it's why we
Why
do
we
things.
receive therapy as
Yes,
well.
definitely.
So it's all, in my opinion, comes together, because at heart,
The same
at
time.
the center of it, there's always the human.
Olivia, as we say in therapy, I'm aware of the time.
I say it so often that.
So I'm going to summon the fishbowl. As anticipated,
No,
I'll ask you to read
let
it
me
out
see.
loud like a rapid fire question.
Rapid fire question.
Pun intended. More of the time.
Okay, what's a personal development challenge that you're currently working on? For us.
Apart from pottery.
Exactly, I was going to tell you. The obvious one was pottery. I think finding more of a balance in the work and life, which to me doesn't look 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20 towards work, sometimes it's 70-30 towards family. But as the year goes around, it's keeping top of mind what makes sense in the moment to prioritize, also for the benefit of the other, because sometimes prioritizing family means giving more at work, maybe for the financial reasons, maybe for sanity reasons or whatever. So finding that balance.
Finding that balance. It's a constant work in progress, isn't it?
Always. I don't think there's a formula that works all year round. At least I haven't found it. If you find it, please
Not
share
yet,
it.
not yet. At the moment, I'm quite imbalanced, I would say. So I'm currently seeking that balance. So
Yes, so
I'm in that zone as
so
well.
in the same zone. Okay.
Olivia, thank you for being here. We finally managed to
Yes,
to
finally,
record
yes.
this episode.
Thank you for having me. It
You're
was
very
really
welcome.
an honor to be here.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It's an honor is a big word.
No, but I follow your podcast.
Thank you for encouraging and I always appreciate our interactions, even though sometimes we come
Very
together
quick.
very sporadic and quick. I appreciate this hour that we had together to
Yes.
to have a chat about
A bit.
the work we do, because sometimes certain things go unnoticed because they have to go
Yes,
unnoticed.
yes,
So
yes. Exactly.
thank you for being here.
Thank you.